And we are back for the first game, week 3, day 1. Champion Select is already going on. What do you guys think about bans for the first?
Okay, probably the usual, the Dianas, the Twisted Fates out of the picture, Caitlyn most likely. Sometimes we've seen even Jinx out of the picture, so...
Yeah, and then the question is what's falling through in terms of something like is a Corki going to get through? Actually, I'd imagine that Orianna's going to get banned away from Muta.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of seeing Corki.
me too, but like that's why the ban is kind of important, just to kind of say, actually, is it going to be prioritized? But what we've seen in terms of bans against Singularity, teams really don't want to face against Muta's real comfort, real power pick of that Orianna.
So far, we have Thresh, Lee Sin, and Caitlyn removed, and Thresh is just staying there on the ban phase. Nobody's allowing Thresh to go through.
Nope.
I think it's just a staple that is like so good to play with every immobile ADC that's up for grabs, right? The Caitlyn, the Jinx, the Aphelios, anything. You want to play the Varus even, like you want to play that, the Thresh is just going to bail you out of any sticky situation. And we have seen how well it works with pretty much any ADC, so I'm not surprised. I'm also like leaning more towards an Aphelios Lulu situation, and I'm glad to see it banned right here, because we saw that Lulu is one of the most picked supports that we have in the NLC due to the fact that our teams here put so much emphasis on their ADCs being the main carries of their teams.
Okay, so now we're left with stuff like Jinx, Diana. It's actually going to be the Jins that are immediately locked in support, not going towards heavy farming, not Karthus, don't worry, we don't have to suffer through that for yourself this time, of course. Port, for me, when I've seen him play, he has played some of these more aggressive champions at the university level. Hasn't shown it on the NLC level just yet. So it's a difference at this stage. Interesting for me, at least, to see whether we're going to see that performance transferred to a high level.
Well, I like this Xin Zhao, let's be honest. He was playing unorthodox picks so far. And in an interview that I did with him, he seems a little bit shaky, like what is happening with the team, how is the team handling those situations. And apparently he's going for the Xin Zhao. And he's a worldwide champion. Like, you can do pretty much whatever you want with him.
I feel this is a great move from the sort of Pope to like step back from I'm going to hypercar, I'm going to play a Karthus, Graves, Master Yi into a more, keep it just simple. Go back to scaling compositions. I think the first 3 are staples. Xin Zhao, great at engaging, great at disengaging. Leona, great at doing the same thing. Corki scales super well into the late stages of the game. So, like, if you can pair this up with something like maybe an Aphelios, a Ziggs down the bot lane as well, and then maybe have something like more carry-oriented, or even tank on the top side of the map, I think you're set. And
also for the nameplate of Yepe as well, for Singularity in the support, he's always been creative and aggressive. Those are the 2 words which keep cropping up every time that we talk about Yepe. Having a Leona is one of the strongest champions to do that right now. No, it's not his favorite Thresh. That's going to be banned way too much from this play, I'd probably imagine. Has to play it into the Rakan. That used to be a bit of a counter matchup. Nowadays, Rakans don't really give a care. They don't really care about Leona.
So the engage and the lock-in is already there for Team Singularity. On the other side, NYYRIKKI are coming in with Rakan. They're trying to remove now AD carries. They can just be annoying, but the Ziggs is still available. And do you waste a ban on Ziggs?
I don't think so, because Corki is an AP hyper carry. Most of his damage is converted into AP anyway, so I don't think Ziggs would be like a great pairing with him, because it would be just too obvious. They would only have one format of damage right there. So I would be very surprised to not see the Aphelios banned right here, because this is the only other ADC that remains down bot lane. Now, things that I consider in my head that could be played down bot would be something like the Ezreal left alone in his own devices, but then the Jinx creates so much pressure together with the Rakan that you can actually dive and kill an Ezreal underneath his tower, especially since you're playing Rakan. Now, the other thing that I'm thinking about is probably a Varus. We have seen Zamulek play this a lot.
Yeah, that's an option. You're looking into the Jinx and you kind of start questioning, actually, what have we got that can maybe outrange or just displace, just displace that Jinx from the backline of a team fight. Maybe you even look towards something like a Misfortune at that point, because actually there's not a huge amount of backline access, as long as you've got something to just keep tabs on the Rakan. It's going to be the Victor very late lock-in from Nero, and now Singularity have to deal with this big mage in the mid lane, which keeps cropping up.
But no matter the way you look into these teams, this is a massive team fight composition for both of them, especially if you bring the Misfortune, which is, well, who knows, but the Varus lethality could also provide a team fight. Tell me, Trevor.
I think this has to be then an Ezreal or a Varus, because they have opted for another AP carry towards the top side of the map, which is Gwen. And don't you have somewhere to be, sir?
Oh, hang on, wait.
Yeah, I think...
sorry, I'm just getting a call. Just one second. I think it's my brother.
Right, so I'm wondering what they're going to choose to put towards down the bot side of the map. I'm wondering what is left to put down the bot side of the map, because I'm seeing Varus and I'm seeing Ezreal. Oh, they're going to choose to go with the Senna here. See, I'm not too sold. This is a very well-rounded, we scale boys hashtag towards the late game. And I'm seeing a lot of moving backwards. But Senna is not the most consistent damage, and until she is there and until she is farmed, she can get very easily abused. Senna versus Jinx, Jinx will outpush you, and of course you do have the account, which gives you a lot of survivability and a lot of sustain through his heals. So this is going to be a +1 for the side of NYYRIKKI. Now I really like the fact that Petoska is going with R5 Jax, because I feel like this Viego will have 2 avenues to play towards. You can choose to shut down the Gwen on the top side of the map, but you can also choose to play towards your Jinx down at the bot lane. I'm thinking though that NYYRIKKI are going to play towards the top side of the map, while Singularity towards the bot side of the map.
And if you look into the Senna, it's still 12.1. So the buff, the slow buff that Senna gained,
it's
still not there. So I don't know if they're thinking
this is why I'm like a bit skeptical, because I'm like, what is this Senna going to be? Is it going to be Glacial Senna? Is it going to be Grasp Senna? What Senna is it going to be?
Or Lethal Tempo. Who knows what's going to happen? Who's going like attack speed Senna? That would be something to look into.
Yeah.
The Jax on the top side, though, looking into the Gwen, it's one of those skill matchups that you can see. You can dodge away from the counter strike when the Jax jumps at you, but it's a timing.
I'm wondering like what spells, summoner spells, we're going to see the Gwen with, because we've seen a lot of times the Ignite. If you see the Ignite, you're like, oh shoot, they're playing towards the top side of the map. You need to shut it down. This is where Desidera is going to have to decide which side of the map he wants to play towards.
And it's time to get the top laner of Singularity to get into the carry mode. And it's time to also kick it up to the caster's desk for the first time on the NLC. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, thanks guys. Sorry, I've got to find Alex. I'm still trying to call him. Like, where the hell are you, dude? You're missing all time.
Oh my god, it was crazy. There was a Gromp, there were Krug. It was a journey through the jungle.
What
it was
doing?
crazy.
You were supposed to be here like 30 minutes ago. You missed call time. What were you doing?
Well, I made it here now.
Okay, fine.
Great to see you, Sam.
That's right, I'm Initialized. That one's NYYRIKKI. You've been seeing him already. We are actually in the studio live for the NLC and ready to get into our first game. 2 teams that desperately want the win. NYYRIKKI versus Singularity, both 0-4, both been struggling to get things together. We are getting onto the Rift with 2 team fight compositions, but slightly different takes on it.
Yeah.
That Jax in particular for me, throwing a slightly different curveball on the side of NYYRIKKI.
And if we're going to get into, you know, the whole thing about actually winless teams and these teams which are fighting for relevance, fighting not quite for survival, we're not quite at that point yet, but teams which really just want to prove a concept that this project is working for them, that this group of 5 players for each team can make something work between them. This is the game to make it start. These teams have struggled. They don't have to struggle after this point. This can be a bit of a redemption arc, but let's not get ahead of ourselves just quite yet.
I was enjoying our little T-tours there. It looks like we were playing Asteroids for a second following that spaceship style of Corki in there.
Maybe I can lose at that game too by not noticing what the graphic does.
True. That was fun, by the way. I enjoyed the fact that you were messing that up with the arrows on the side, no less, by the way. All right, let's have a quick look and see whether there's anything interesting at the level 1. But it does look like we're just getting a standard 5-man fan. A lot of scaling across the board here from everybody, but I mean, like Corki, Senna, Gwen, that's all about stacking, it's all about scaling. You want 2, 3 items complete. I mean, on the other side, hell, I mean, pretty much the same with the Viego in there as well as a scaling
and
pick.
I have to say, I didn't expect a Senna, although we did see it over in the LCS.
We did.
We saw that last night, and that did a whole lot of damage. I'm going to start questioning the build at this point. Are we going to go towards something like Kraken Slayer, go towards something which is a bit more on-hitty? That can be really important, upping that DPS again compared to something like a Jinx, which just is the queen of damage in the bot lane right now.
It really is, and Jinx has been so hard to deal with. Just in general, there have been people who've tried to mess around with the Jinx, tried to deal with it, and there have been some answers, right? There have been some people who picked up, you know, the Caitlyn, as we were saying, but that's banned so often. And I'm interested to see now that this Senna pick, which was picked knowing what Azador had come up with, whether that actually works out here as Abagnale takes a little bit of poke there, stepping forwards in his own vision in that level 1 bush ward.
Yeah, so again, bush control with CC support does go pretty nastily. You do have to brawl a little bit, use your HP bar as a resource. This Gwen, though, of course, we saw that up on our graphic pre-show about actually being very high presence over in the LPL alongside the Corki. I actually love to see Gwen in drafts where Corki is present because actually Corki can struggle with something like a Gwen on the other side. You pop that double, you just run at them and you can force them to use the package much like the Shy has been doing over there. So I'm interested to see actually how they've managed to compare it on the same team. You have both of these temporary front lines in the Jhin, in the Gwen, and they can start holding the line so Spike, so Muta can start putting out the damage they need to win.
Well, now we can see where the Porp can find himself a little bit of an early gank as Patoska's jumped in. That could be problematic. The Ignite coming down now for Tatui as well into the alcove, but I don't know whether that will be enough gaming to save him. Porp still hunting, still waiting. There's the leap strike again, and now Desidre is here to try and counter it out. That's the counter strike. Flash for the knockup. That third Talisman strike going to get something, and I think Patoska just gets to walk away. Flash and Ignite down for Singularity, who couldn't quite secure the kill.
So Patoska, the other kind of one of our mad scientists across the rift from Singularity, on something a bit more reasonable like the Jax for this game, gets away with not quite murder in the top lane, gets away with survival, and blows the flash a little late maybe. Maybe could have gotten a bit more pressure down there, a bit more kill threat rather, and trying to make something happen, but NYYRIKKI not going to be suffering first blood.
All right, well, that little gank gone aside. We're going to see the flash down for Patoska. He's burned the teleport as well. Tatui still gets to stay in lane, and maybe there's a chance for a returning gank, but we'll have to wait and see whether that does become an option, because, of course, now Porp will be reverse clearing back down towards that bot lane. Not too much more to write home about as Desidre goes back to finishing his red buff, which he did leave off to come and help out his top lane.
So this isn't going to be any kind of meaningful farm advantage for Desidre either, because actually Porp did get the top side scuttle. It's not going to be a double scuttle. Not that that matters as much as it did in previous seasons. Muta having to blow the flash already. Obviously, no, sorry, teleport.
Teleport, I don't think he flashed
I remember
quite
there was a
yet.
flash being blown at some point. Look, I've been teleporting all over the place. I've been from the standing bit to the caster down. It's been wild, you know. Only so many globals.
You went
but Muta
Earth mode
doesn't-
where you've just got like flash on, like no cooldown.
That's
That's what's been going on. Okay.
I'm actually a manatee.
I wouldn't have guessed considering we're siblings.
Not.
I'm hoping that doesn't mean I'm actually also
There's
part
something
manatee.
I need to tell you.
Well, that wasn't where I was expecting our first tangent of the day to go,
No,
but here we
me
are.
neither.
So, NYYRIKKI is in fact part manatee,
That's me.
possibly.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to see a bit of an engage at the bot side. Over onto the Flame Jumpers, though, walks the center. Going to have to try and back out. Yeppe has to flash away from the Spectral Maw. Desidre takes a bit of poke and trade, but once again, both junglers kind of turning up at the same place at the same time.
Turning up at the same place and once again nullifying. We do have, you know, waves evening up on the bot side, and no one's really yet to find an advantage on the side lanes. Corki does tend to lose this matchup in the mid. That's been the talking point for everyone when they see this matchup. Just behind a little bit in the farm, did take some bad trades early. Both have used their teleports, though. It's going to pick up some of this wave. And again, as long as Corki survives through to package, through to 2 items, they're just happy with however the game's gone before that.
Indeed, they are being down about 10 CS. See whether it stabilizes there or whether, of course, Aero can try and extend that lead and make sure that becomes a little bit worse. But as it stands, I think the Corki's probably just okay with being a little bit behind as it stands. And we're kind of waiting for the first real spark of confirmed action. Maybe I could phrase that a little bit better. We've seen a couple ganks, both of which have been stalled by the turning up of Desidre, who's kind of been there to counter gank both times.
Well, actually, one thing which I'm going to be quite interested in seeing as we go further and further forward is that obviously NYYRIKKI have some options on the side lane if the Jax does get ahead. If Viego and Jax can maybe not commit to a dragon play when the package is up, kind of call SNG's bluff and say, look, you can go towards the objective. We'll maybe show a token effort, but we can start stomping on the side lane. That's an effort they can go towards. They're trying to set it up right now.
boy.
Abnell up in that top side.
Abagnale is there, so is Desidre, and Tatui might be in a world of hurt. He's hot forward with a skip and slash, and that means he needs to get through these minions. The Thunderdome comes down, but that hallowed mist is only looking like he's hallowed his grave. At least he's buried on hallowed ground.
And I've wanted to say this for a while. Gwen is not immune. Take back your immunity. Definitely not allowed to escape in that top side. Has gone back and got themselves a Bramble Vest very early, trying not to go towards so much of an aggressive start, just saying, look, Jax is going to be auto-attacking me. Let's try and get something back for them. And we do have free plays. So Tatui just doesn't see it coming. Like, he sees that Patoska is maybe trying to contest that wave. The wave is actually pushing back into the Jax, so I think that Tatui probably has to sense something's up, just because you know that he could have collected the wave further back, chooses not to do that, tries to go in because he knows Porp is coming topside, though. Just the timing doesn't quite work out.
Porp was a second away from being able to get in there and maybe turn that around into a 1-for-1. Didn't quite happen though, and thus NYYRIKKI get themselves first blood on the top side. It goes on to the Ruined King versus Gwen. That feels remarkably lore appropriate, and now might be trying to start up this initial dragon.
Actually, you know, just taking a step back for a second, it looks like this isn't going to be contested. Is that actually both these teams being 0-4? I appreciate the fact that they have come onto the Rift and not really given a damn about the last 4 games and said, look, we're still going to play make. Yes, it's been a bit sucky going 0-4, particularly in the manner which they have done in some cases too, and still having that boldness to say, we're here to play, let's try and earn our own victories. Porp is trying to earn a kill on the top side.
They knew that the dragon was going down. There's no teleport error, and that means it's a dive on the cards. The needle work's coming through. There's the Dawning Shadow, but Porp goes down as well. Doesn't quite make it out. Flash not quite off cooldown, and that makes it a 1-for-1.
So that's the center ult. Of course, that's something which I completely forgot about because I haven't seen this champion in so long. Adds in that extra couple of 100 damage. It means that Tatui doesn't have to go take aggro afterwards and potentially buys more tower shots, blah, blah, blah. They get the kill onto the Jax. They give a double wave or so over to tower as well. Patoska loses out on a decent amount of farm. That's still a victory for Singularity on the top side.
It is, and now Azitor actually has rotated towards this top side. As the Herald has spawned, NYYRIKKI clearly wanting to secure all of these early objectives, and I'm not sure whether Singularity are going to come over and contest, but I can see Yepe and Porp coming over.
Yeah, because obviously Corki gets the package around about the first Herald timing as well. Gets the recall a little bit late. Even though they had made that play topside, they choose to reset from it. Although Porp has actually gone back onto it. They might have just found themselves a slight timing window to pick up on the leash.
Dezidra is still around on the back edge of this pit. He's going to try and think about coming around, and there's some pings coming along, but Muta is here with the package, I believe, on board. Going to go straight over to Dezidra and keep him as far away from this Herald as he possibly can. Abagnale and Azitor going to try and...
Okay, but can they make the retreat?
Maybe. Looks like they can just get their way out, and we're going to have to bring the energy right back down again as they get in, they get out, and that was honestly a bit of a leash there from the side of NYYRIKKI, who tried to play it clean.
And because it wasn't, cleanly finished on the Herald, Singularity do get to bring that package to bear, and that's when Corki becomes really problematic. Make no mistake, the Rocket Barrage is not actually his ultimate, it's actually that package for all things really relevant in competitive play right now. And what Muta does right there is he just makes sure that Dezidra was never going to have the ability to ult in, try and get really close and personal with some of these frontliners at SMG and start a brawl for themselves.
Okay, quick check-in on the Senna. Noticed, of course, first strike, which is probably no surprise, but it is a farming Senna, has become a little bit more common again in recent weeks, but it is worth remembering that as Porp has turned up in topside and just summons the Herald down straight away, of course, though the dive went a little awry earlier. It did get to Tui, 2 plates, so maybe they can think about it. Dezidra's here, though.
Yeah, they're not going to kill the entire tower with this. It is just over 2 plates that gets taken by the Herald when it gets that first charge, but it's still more gold onto the Gwen. And Singularity at this point, just propping up this matchup, which of course did have that early kill going over to the other side. And I think that's very important. We kind of talked about NYYRIKKI, when they do get towards later parts in the game, they have extra options in terms of actually maybe not going towards the objective at all. Adding some extra queries across the map, which kind of like that pop quiz in pop quiz in macro as things get later on.
I mean, that's the first time I've seen a Chaos Storm used to fry some chicken. Victor was getting a little hungry, apparently.
More like popcorn chicken.
There we go. That was a nice reference. I take that. That was a solid bit of a pun there.
Chaos fried chicken.
Chaos.
Not with a cave. It's edgy.
Is that just because there was that one Final Fantasy trailer where just chaos was yelled about 30,000 times? Is that what it is? Well, let's bring it back a little bit to the game. Gold pretty much even.
That's not my specialty, Sam. You know that's not.
Give me at least 10 seconds before we do this. What I wanted to say was that Tatui with the Bramble Vest early, with the with the Steel Caps early. It's not Tabby anymore. Has to be for a little while. It's probably looking like he's going to get a hold of first Tower Blood as well. And Tatui was one of those players that was brought up in the pre-game. His Wukong in the first day of the NLC in general this year was really good. I'm hoping Dezidra is back relatively soon. He is. He's reconnected. That's good news. Does mean we get to avoid pause gaming. But Tatui has been given a lot of resources. Yes, he's died the one time, but he's also got a kill. He's also got 4 plates. He's also got a bit of a CS advantage. And that is good news for Singularity's game plan.
That's
going straight in.
Pretty deep.
That's going to be a bit of a turnaround now. Abagnale gonna try and survive this best they can. Goes back in with the
Senna.
quick, the flash out from Paul, but now Senna doing fast quantities of damage. It's Yepe How with the ignite that secures the Ruined King, and the kills are now all evened up, but Aero roaming down means that they might just go for this dive anyway.
Oh, Eclipse Burst was so big there, they're going to try and fight it under the tower.
Flashing out from the gravity field, gonna try and do as much healing, as much damage as they can, and the dive just doesn't work out.
And again, the extra 100 HP difference or so, even in just a couple of ranks of that queue, actually just one off that maximum, it does a lot. It scales off a lethality nowadays. They might catch him on the board, not quite. But this bot lane, Singularity, they've had some issues here in the first 2 weeks, but they are standing strong here against Azator, one of these other players that was brought up as someone who's really had that statistical backing to how well they've been playing.
Such good stuff there, and that is a bit of a win there for Singularity. Pop in the right place at the right time, and I'm going to have to stick myself the equivalent of a swear jar, because I keep saying Abagnale, and it's Abagnail, and I keep doing it. And it's really irritating me. His hero might be paying.
Trying to get away from Muta.
Flash forwards for the auto-attack into the big one, securing a kill there onto the Victor. And Singularity, where has this form been all season?
Oh, it doesn't matter where it's been. This is the thing. You can lose all of these games, but when it comes to this bottom of the barrel clash, sometimes you just need to dig in, get gritty, and just say, let's fight it out. All of these players turning up on the day right now for Singularity, but it's not a done deal, of course. It's only 2,000. There's an engage coming on the bot side of the Cat Senna. That could lead to other big things, but that Spectral Maul does not land.
It does not, and the Black Mist was out there to offer some options, as there is a package available. In goes Yepe, there's the Solar Flare into the package, and Porp secures the kill onto Abagnail.
And that's just the package again. The Corki Sirens go blazing across the rift, gets down there with the teleport into package, turns that fight as Yepe lands the engage. Now NYYRIKKI have to look and see this Corki comp get an early dragon, almost certainly. Desiderate can't contest this.
Muta is a man possessed, them, and Valkyrie forward into everybody he seems to see, but Azator and Aero are around. They've got ultimates. They're going to secure the dragon though with Singularity, but what about the fight after? That's a big gravity field! And Aero gets a hold of Muta, and Jinx is excited. It's time to see whether the music video plays out, though. It's a 1-for-1 right now. Azator and Abagnail trying to play this out as best they can. Unstoppable goes to Sidre and secures the soul of Porp.
And just while Singularity find themselves an advantage, right, we've got ourselves a one fight. We've got ourselves an entrance into this dragon. They let Victor get the mother of all gravity fields. Gets the combo into that too with the E and the ult. That amount of damage is not easy to turn around even in an uneven numbers play. We're actually going to get ourselves a replay of that as it's coming through. And actually, I can't see it on my screen, so I have no idea what's happening.
Right, cast by sound alone, my friend. We're back.
Maybe we can make the sound effects for those.
The sound effects were already there, so I think we just we've not got the toboggan Corki, which does make that noise, so I'm a little bit sad. As Azator gonna get a hold of this bot lane tier 1. We've been talking about the return of the King with Shikari. I personally found 2 towers, as that will be the second tower of the game going down. Yes, I made that reference. Shikari's not even in the game yet. As Tatui gonna come along and start dueling with Ptoshka, who's gonna be, well, has at least completed the Divine Sundra, but Gwen with some of those early defensive items feeling pretty happy to just walk forward and trade against the Krugs there.
And Singularity now going up towards the second Herald. Now, you've already taken that top lane out of turret. Second Herald typically used to take down mid-outer. That's where you often see it, just because you're not really wanting to get maximum play value. You don't really care about the monetary reward of it. It's more about buying territory on the map at that point. If you can start unrooting the Jinx, which can wave clear for forever, the Victor that can wave clear for forever, it gives you much larger ability to play around the package objective fights, which become the core of your team composition into the late game.
Does appear to be, and I actually have now got to keep our eyes on what happens with this second Herald that Porp secured while Azator and friends were kind of around that bot lane tier 1 and secured that for themselves. It does mean that second Herald is available and can sort of continue to maybe break down that mid lane tier 1, which is always a prize.
But then what you can see actually is NYYRIKKI have a good response to that. They immediately push it out. They make sure that there is no immediate response. Now you see Corki sat alone, does have some friends waiting in the wings, and Yepe has ult.
Oh, Azator, that's a cleanse coming through. But now Desiderae has to go back into the Harrowed Path, does get his way out to safety, but that'll be the Rift Herald summoned in mid. Singularity taking this opportunity to try and get a hold of this. It's most of the HP, and I think they can just secure it. Looks like they'll be able to extricate themselves as well. And out they get with a tower to the name.
That's a pretty clean in and out, actually. And like we said, that's the territory gain now. You don't have that extra bulwark vision and territory in your own mid lane from NYYRIKKI. So you have to start branching out and say, all right, do we have the ability to play against the package? First couple of packages have actually been quite impactful. First one around that first Herald gave Singularity the ability to kind of just zone off the mid-jungle of NYYRIKKI, and then the second one obviously led into the start of what looked to be a good fight for Singularity, which NYYRIKKI then turned around. So I'm looking at this team comp from NYYRIKKI, and you do have gold in relevant places. If you do get an early 2 items onto Desidera, and you have that Viego, who's much harder to take down at that point. One reset could be all it takes, actually, at that point. You get a good enough pick onto the center, onto the Corki. Viego will do the rest of the work for you. That's the heavy lifting done.
Keeping an eye, though, at the stats right now. Singularity got the slight tower advantage, but it's not amounting to a huge gold advantage yet. It's only 800 gold. All things said and done, it's a dragon apiece. We're kind of edging past that 17-minute mark, and you can see, actually, Azator has got himself a fairly notable CS lead, is doing pretty well here on the Jinx, got themselves that tower.
As we've come to expect from him,
As we have come to expect. The trade has been towards that top side where Tatui has been the recipient of a fair amount of resources, and that's the trade-off right now. Jinx and Gwen, 2 pretty good people to have gold on.
Absolutely, and speaking of NYYRIKKI and kind of like what we've come to expect from them, obviously they've started fairly slowly in this split, right? They've gone that 0-4, but they're trying to speed up the tempo up on this top side. Nuta doesn't have a package, has a flash, and has to be aware of a Viego in the wings, but that's not going to lead to any plays just now. Crisis averted.
Indeed it is. No wave there to really go for the dive. Would have been a little bold, I think, without some minions to tank the initial aggro. Instead, Porp is hanging around this bot side, wondering whether maybe he can get something going on down here with Tatui, but deciding against it for now.
He's cooldown counting. I know you're not allowed to do that in casinos. You're not allowed to do the whole card counting.
I don't think the Rift counts as a casino. I know you like to flip your games because you play Ari, but the rest of us do try to actually win our games on a more regular basis.
Yeah, sadly my placements, they kind of reflect that. They definitely do.
It's because you've been trying to play Quinn mid.
I won a game on Quinn mid, I'll have you know.
And this is probably not the time to have that discussion.
Either way, you kind of see that, like you kind of stand that side like going, look, if there's a leap strike a little too far forward, maybe you can start closing them down, or at least blow a flash. Doesn't happen in that case though. As NYYRIKKI claim top lane out of turret from the side of Singularity. They have themselves a longer side lane to play in now, as the bot lane also has that, both Earth turrets there as well. So actually coming down to this more wide macro play when these objectives are coming down, you have the long runway to try and attempt that as a Jax and a Viego, trying to pick off someone on the side of Singularity.
Absolutely, and Porp here will be securing the first Hex Dragon of the game. We are now in the Rift of the Future, of course. Hex Gates have been activated, and while Teleport has been unleashed for 5 minutes, you've got more than just one Teleport now. You can just teleport all over the place via some of those nifty Hex Gates that will be allowing some potentially interesting flanking maneuvers.
And again, if we're going to go back to the whole, actually, side lane might be where NYYRIKKI look to force the fights in this. Those Hex Gates add an extra degree to that, because actually, you can roam out of base to the other side of the map much quicker, an extra 5 seconds on that. Now, timings are something that you kind of do instinctually a lot of the time when you're split pushing, and that can start rattling those instincts.
So, as we said, first item's complete for most people here. I think Yeppe needs to complete his support item as yet, I believe, but everyone else kind of there. And Corki just finished the second item. It's a Ravenous Hydra alongside a transformed Muramana, which is, that's a lot of poke available. There is no Ludens yet, but that's not bad starting grounds.
And what it also means is that between the Ravenous and then also the Senna Q, even if Corki has to walk up and tank a Death Ray, you're pretty happy to take one skill shot, getting a Senna Q through you. You're ready to go again.
Anybody as well who was watching LCS lock-in last night saw what 2 Corki rockets could do to a Jinx once the third item is complete. And Azator doing really well at this point, but is going to have to be hyper aware that if he's just trading autos, trading skills with the Corki, he doesn't necessarily win that one.
No, and it's only going to get worse as the game goes on. Everyone's seen Corki enough at this point. We don't need to dive into the builds. Speaking of builds, though, we do need to probably check in with a couple things. We have actually a Wit's End on Patuska, trying to, again, play towards the Gwen matchup, be able to maybe, again, open up some kind of 1v1 option as we get a little further into this game. And then we've got the Kraken Slayer. High DPS on the side of Azator, wants to be the person to pop off, only needs a second or two of someone getting caught out to start making things really pop for the side of NYYRIKKI. So it is going to be largely about that first kill on both sides.
Okay, so we have ourselves about 3 minutes until this next strike, and NYYRIKKI have decided to take a little trip there. I hope they've got their passports in hand, because they are entering Singularity's red side jungle, and I wonder whether border control is going to be around to try and stop them from taking out this bot lane tier 2. But it does look like it's just a simple take there, as Tatui gonna have to back out from that gravity field, and nice pickup from NYYRIKKI there.
Okay, so again, just widening the scope of the map. Picking up the gold where it's put there. NYYRIKKI just slowing things down enough. They haven't had to worry about a package for a while. They are going to have to worry about, of course, a Hextech Soul Point coming through if they don't find a way to control this bottom side of the map. Now, taking that bot in a turret and leaving vision on the way out potentially does give them some options, but very quickly, Singularity put down 2 control wards. They have at least the first entrance to their jungle secured. They can branch out from there. 2 minutes in the future, we have that next dragon spawn. You're probably looking at Singularity reclaiming the vision. They need to have the right foothold to go towards the dragon.
Absolutely. Production, if we could potentially just have a quick look at Senna's stacks, because we've not checked in on that in a little
47.
while.
47.
47 should be looking to breach at least the 50 mark
We've got the Rift
before.
from the future. We've also got the Producers from the future.
Brilliant,
too,
they are amazing.
Which is not to be confused with Back to the Future. We're not going quite fast enough. It's quite a slow-paced game.
There's no trains on this one either for the third installment. Brilliant game 1, so who knows? Maybe Riot pull out a
Join
fast
us
one on
later
this.
for game 3.
The hype train, that's what it is. Get subbing to the channel, guys.
You're
That's what I'm
always
saying.
the hype train, Sam. You've never been boring in a game of Legends. You always bring it.
Yes, that's certainly something I can do. Actual factual knowledge of the game, perhaps a little bit more hit and miss, but everything else, not bad going. So, a minute and a half to that dragon. Senna doing okay on the stacking point, not quite at that 70 soul kind of really scary tipping point that a lot of people have talked about in the past, but NYYRIKKI just having a look about securing just 1 or 2 little bits of Baron vision to maybe start throwing a little bit of doubt into Singularity's minds.
Again, I think NYYRIKKI just doing their due diligence in terms of saying, all right, if we don't have the ability to outdo the package, what can we do? Actually, Jax Viego onto a Baron is not bad in terms of DPS. Muta doesn't have the package just yet. We'll be going back to base after shoving out 1 more wave, and has the teleport, of course, so can go for even the teleport package at this point. Not that there's any flank wards to really achieve the ideal case scenario at this point.
No, but we have at least got 2 items complete now on Gwen. That's the Nash's Tooth in. You're looking at 2 items in for Senna, waiting for that transformation on the Muramana, but that's an LDR complete for Azator, ready to send some regards via, not mail, but arrows, which I feel is a little bit more aggressive, bluntly. I'm not sure why Jinx has decided that firing, arrows using a crossbow is the way forwards for her rockets, but hey, what are you going to do?
It's just beyond you, It's the genius of Jinx.
It is
Figured out
indeed.
Hextech in a week, maybe can figure out the Hextech Rift as well, as the Sitter is trying to figure out if he can engage into this comp. We have this standoff in the middle.
Patoshka on the side as well. It's got a wonderful option. NYYRIKKI finds a beautiful engage. The counter-strike comes through. The Dawning Shadow comes through, but I think it might be lights out and a sunset for Singularity. But wait, right now Gwen still alive. Tatooine doing so much work, but finally goes down. Azator is the one that comes out with the quadra kill in that one.
And we said all they needed was just that 1 moment to pop. The first kill, get the resets, get rolling. And Muta does his damn best to try and shake up that backline. Gets a package right onto the Victor, takes out the Victor, but gives her own life for it. And without that DPS coming from the Corki, we saw how things went after that point. Get those T-Tors ready. I mean, Abagnale,
It's a thing of beauty.
It's a thing of beauty.
That.
If beauty's in the eye of the beholder, then Abagnale is looking pretty attractive right now. It's the ult right on top of it. Doesn't matter if you have the ults and everything. Like, just trying to outdo that big engage is so difficult after that point. The damage is done.
Muta might get a hold of the Victor, but Azator finishes him up and then gets to do this. That is more explosive than the finale of Arcane. And we're now at a point where Azator, this superstar AD carry who's been putting on such good numbers but
Has
can't
the goal
quite...
to really make it pop.
Absolutely, but hasn't been able to quite convert it into a win yet. Is now 4-0-3, is up 60 CS, is so ready with a 650 gold bounty on their head to get this game over and done with in the favor of NYYRIKKI.
You know what's even crazy? It didn't have to use Flash. Or
No.
Lance, actually. Maybe Muta was sat there thinking, maybe if I package onto the Jinx, they just flash out and kill me. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe that was the tipping point. Because I was wondering if that Corki should have just flown straight into the AD carry's face, stopped them from getting that DPS down, but as we said, it was NYYRIKKI that chose the fight on their terms, and those terms seem pretty favorable to them.
And they've got themselves a Baron at the end of it all as well. They've stopped the dragon stacking, and now Tatooine might be laughing as Gwen, but I don't know for how much longer as fairly nasty death ray comes out there as Victor starts hitting pretty hard right now. As actually Yepe finds a bit of an engage onto Abagnale, who's going to try and stay alive, and that's actually going golden. The Dawning Shadow is out. Abagnale still just about alive with the battle dance getting them away. And Desidre maybe thinking about going forwards, but Singularity look to try and catch out the support in the jungle and can't quite finish the job.
Oh, it's so mobile on this champion. Uses both charges, the battle dance, and the grand entrance as well. Of course, now with the Baron going down, NYYRIKKI get to have free run of the map. They have the ability to return to these lanes. They already took those inner turrets down. They start really pressuring this base of SNG and stop them getting out, getting a vision onto the map. They already lost that last dragon, so they don't have a soul point to play around. They're in a bit of dire straits now.
And they have themselves about a 5,000 gold lead as a result of all this as well. They've managed to open that up. It's been so close. 1,000, 2,000 gold, if that's been separating these teams. But now, I wonder whether Patoska just gets the 1v2 kill. Now, Port might be in trouble. That is the stopwatch burned, though. And over comes Senna's Bikini, going to try and do the most they can, but no! Patoska, not like this! At least Senna picks up the return kill, but 2 kills like that, that's just not what you want to see if you're a Singularity fan.
Such a good game from Patoska. Patoska in that big cataclysmic team fight that happens in the mid lane, finds their way onto the center, finds their way into the back line, and then comes back into a side lane, pulls off some of their own stunts. He's a stunt man, he doesn't need a stunt double at this point, does all of his own tricks, and it's kind of easy to forget that Patoska has been against some of the very best tops we've had in this league in the first couple of games. Having a game versus Tatui, and has looked good doing it, it's good for the confidence building of this NYYRIKKI player and the fans of the player.
All right, and maybe now is time for a bit of story time, in the sense that NYYRIKKI, most of this team are the roster that managed to get through the qualifications. They took on Dusty, they took on Riddle, they came out on top in a lot of those matchups, and yes, the opening weeks have, sorry, Dusty and Resolve, that's the one it was, I do apologize. See, even my story time's a little bit wrong. Either way, the point still stands that this squad has not lived up to their own expectations. These guys want to prove they are better than 0-4, and yes, they've been facing some of the absolute pinnacle of the NLC right now, and let's be real, the likes of X7 have been turning up at and above our expectations. But this is a team that does want to put a bit of a mark here in the NLC, and this is a way to potentially start it up. It's looked close, but competitive, and Patoska, one of those guys on the Riven, the Jaxes, the Camille's, does so much work when he gets a chance.
And they are starting to leave him off, but will they get fired back on?
That would be a Dawning Shadow coming through. Story time is cut out real quick, as Singularity maybe looking to try and get something back here. It's a 1-for-1 right now, but Patoska, the man of the moment, gonna get the kill and maybe turn it around again. Keeps charging out. That's a 3-item Corki. You can't do this. Gets away with another kill and gets out. It is Muta alone against the full force of NYYRIKKI, who are still 3 members strong. And yes, there's a package, but it needs to be a good one. I'm not sure if that's going to be quite enough. Flash from Azitor. Flash forward from Muta, trying to get the kill, but the counter-strike. Patoska manages to help secure the kill for Desidre, and they should be able to end the game right here, right now.
That is not fair. That is not allowed, but that is what Patoska is doing in this game. 6-2-5. Again, pulling out the stuntman logo and just saying, look, I don't need your help. Does get a couple of teammates to come and wrap around the end of that play, but NYYRIKKI making it look stylish in the end of that fight.
And here I was thinking maybe the game was over with the base broken. It wasn't quite enough. This replay, Singularity tried.
They did, and again, it's partly on the aggressive members, the engagers, the Epe and the Pawp of this team. And they so nearly get both the targets they need. But while they're doing that, they don't get to go backwards. Again, Trouble was talking about how Jhin can be kind of a peeling champion in the backline as well as this aggressive champion. Well, if he's gone on top of the Victor, he can't be there to save the center and save the core.
I've got to really call it out as well. Abagnale there with that flash quickness after Pawp goes in to buy so much time. Beautiful little counter engage of Muta. This was so close.
So close. I mean, that is like a second or so off of being an awesome play. And you see how little HP Patoska
that was
because if you don't get stunned, if you don't get that extra auto attack 3 coming in from Patoska, you probably get 3 kills there. So Muta trying to find something, trying to find a play, trying to find a way back into this game as Pawp has found his way into the jaws of Aero and Desidre.
Crescent guards there. I don't think it's going to be quite enough. The flash out is still not going to secure an escape. And down goes the jungler of Singularity, Tatui. Now going to try and get a hold of a wolf camp, try to claim what scraps you can as the Baron is about to spawn and you're down your jungler.
But Singularity haven't had a chance to leave their base since the last Baron was killed. NYYRIKKI shove in the entire map, full court press, and they don't let up. They get a dragon while they're doing this. Patoska's gonna work his walks his way up, and there's a fight to be had.
Muta isn't here though, he's still in the mid lane. This is a 3v4 at the very best, 1-for-1 right now. Senna gonna try and escape now with the Black Mist, but Tatui's gone golden for just a moment. It's a monument to his own sins, and that's about all that's left. Singularity falling down to single members almost. It's the center alone who walks away from that fight. And Muta wasn't even there.
Are managing to survive the initial engage, lose one person at best, but still have all the DPS pieces free, firing at will. They get themselves the win in that Baron pit fight. They get themselves the Baron afterwards, and this should be the death push afterwards. We're going to go back right to the start of our Orbital Starts because Corp is trying to find anything. Again, it's so hard to play the game at this point because it's just a blackout across both sides of your jungle. Does have the ultimate, tries to find any way out of that situation, buy some space, maybe for Corki to do some heavy lifting, but again, it seems like NYYRIKKI have done enough at this point to starve out Singularity of playmaking pieces to use.
They try to go for the contest. They try to get something. Gwen does some work, but Yeppe falls down pretty quickly. There comes the reset, and just not enough.
Not enough. That's sadly been the case for Singularity in this game and across several other games as well. Just barely losing out in that first game of the split, and in this one, they would have wished to come away with a win, but it's looking more and more unlikely, as much as they did have a much more concerted early game, a much more concerted mid game as well, up until that unfortunate fight, which did happen with the quadra kill of Dazator, and Dazator once again walking up back onto the map. NYYRIKKI continuing to press.
Oh, Desidre takes a lot of damage though, because that's still 4 items on Corki, 4.5. And he's starting to do a lot of work here. Senna as well, getting towards that late game stay as Muta needs to get out of that Chaos Storm. Takes a lot of HP damage, but has at least got a Senna behind him. Starting up with the piercing darkness, but that's an inhibitor number 2 going down. Third one now under siege. Tatui taking all of that long-range rocket damage. Spooky gonna be around as well. Desidre down about 5% HP. Pork stunned in place. He's in a lot of damage, but maybe gonna be turning around. That's still 2 dead already though, because Abagnale gets so much work done. Muta the backline. Package just not enough. Azator running rampant. Excited enough to secure another quadra kill.
Oh, get the double on the 4 kill. There you go.
The beats lay down into 4-4, and Azator, it's gonna do as much work as he needs here to secure the kill in 33 minutes. It was a close early and mid game, but one mid lane turnaround. Engage secures the advantage they need. NYYRIKKI, first win of the NLC here in spring 2022.
That's the double 4s is 4-4 on the time signature, about just under 34 minutes is the game time stamp. And it's music to the ears of NYYRIKKI there, because they do find themselves that proof of concept that, yes, they can start taking these wins. They do have the members which, given the resources and the leads, can start to carry. Potoska has an awesome performance alongside one of the hardest carries who hasn't really carried until this moment in Azator. Great game, again, for that proof of concept.
Yeah, and slight shout out here to Singularity. It was an improved performance.
Yeah,
Tui had a pretty decent Gwen game. It was looking pretty close and competitive until it didn't quite come together. I'm sure they'll be disappointed with the loss. But alas, we also have to disappointingly throw to a break. And after that, the desk will be back to break that game down. And after that, we've got X7 versus M&M as our next game as well. So get excited for that, guys. See you in a few.